X2 Intova and a really wide angle lens. That's what we're going to demonstrate to you now. Before we get into the demonstration of the X2 Intova underwater video camera, without going into a lot of explanation and detail, for good underwater video, you need a wide angle lens on your camera. You need a camera that has a wide field of view with the lens. And that's what we have here with the X2. We've got a wide field of view. Now what we're looking at here is some tape that's here and here. That looking through the LCD here, we can see the field of view that you're getting with this camera when you're videoing. If we take this protractor here, line it up and sight down it, we'll see that we're getting approximately 155 degrees of coverage. Now, we measure the distance between the field of view, the tape here. We get 4 feet 6 inches. We look at the distance from the panel, it's 16 inches. So if we move this camera back 32 inches, and we're underwater, we're filming, and a 9-foot shark goes by, or a ray, or you've got a coral head with a bunch of divers, that's how far you got to be from your subject matter. That's going to come in real handy if there's some turbidity or the water visibility isn't there. If it's clear, it's going to even be better because it's going to give you all that subject you want to get across to your audience in your video. Now, with this camera here, before I bought it, I went ahead and I bought two of the, at separate occasions, top of the line sports action cameras. When I got the cameras in, I compared them to my Connex Intova, and I found out that this has a true 140 degree lens coverage. Well, they advertise 170. That's why I bought them, 4K. Well, when I got them, they didn't meet the 170 into the box, and away they went. They barely made 140 of the Connex. So I started looking at the details of different cameras, forth, and the price ranges and so forth. I kept coming back to the X2, and I've had good success with the Connex. The X2 impressed me with the details was the 2-inch LCD. And then the other thing was the 16 megapixels at 60 frames a second high resolution. Now I'll tell you something about the 4K. When you start looking into it, the 4K in most of these cameras is only 4K at 30 frames a second. Not good. Now, the second thing, it has a real good menu. In the menu, you'll see you can pull up for topside pictures with architectural or something like that and get the straight align effect instead of the fisheye effect. But for underwater, with the refraction of water and everything's a third bigger and so forth, this lens works out great. Now, when I got this camera, when I bought it and got it, the first thing I did was to compare it with the Connex 140 lens coverage, and sure enough it was a wider angle lens by 15 degrees of coverage. I got this camera, been some reviews on Amazon about it leaking. Now let me tell you about leaking in underwater gear, camera housings, lighting gear, or so forth. If you get that O-ring seal, if you get the slightest speck of dirt or foreign matter, a hair or something like that on that O-ring, it'll leak. I opened this thing 2 times. I went down to the Keys, just got back from the Keys by the way, in Florida here. 2 days down to the Keys and made dives to 60, 70 feet with this camera, no leaking. Each time I had to come in, open it up, charge it, and put it back in operation and all. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. What I've got here is I've got the Connex. I've got 3 of these Connexes in Intova. You can see them in all my YouTube videos been with the Connex at 140. That covers something like 60, 70 dives, maybe 35 days of diving off and on. I've had these cameras a little bit less than a year, 3 of them, and no leak. And that's a lot of opening and shutting and charging and so forth. So I'm pretty happy with the Intova brand, and I think I'll get real good service out of this camera. Now when I was down in the Keys, my first dive I made, I put the X2 and the Connex on my lighting camera platform. And I had them both side by side, and I shot some video with them where you can see the 140 and the 152 lens in comparison. I'll put that video on when I finish these demonstrations. And one other demonstration I'll do is I'll put the Connex on here and show you the coverage of 140. And then I have another video where I ran into a little glitch in the directions on charging this camera. I got that video on what I did to on charging it. You might find it informative and useful if you have this camera or you're going to buy one. We'll get to the video, the next demonstration with the Connex in place of the X2. As you can see now, we have the Intova Connex mounted on the tripod. You can see the field of view of the Connex right here, the field of view from the X2 there. If we check out with the protractor, the Connex, we're seeing it's banging right on 140 degrees of lens coverage that's advertised by Intova. Now, if we check out, the camera is still 16 inches from the panel, but the coverage is roughly 37.5 inches, which is 3.5 feet of coverage opposed to 4.5 feet of the X2. Now I'll show you some underwater video of this in the X2, and we'll go to a video of putting the X2 on charge. Charging the Intova X2. And that's the directions on how to charge it. Now I found a glitch. We go ahead to charge it. We'll plug into our USB port. Then we'll watch it prompt up. And there you see the charge on it. We'll dial down to charge. And the light doesn't come on. But I found out if you hit the OK button, the light comes on and it's on charge. The light will go out when it's fully charged. Now there's another way of doing it that I found out that may be helpful, and we'll go ahead and I'll turn it off. I'll just take it off here. Now there's another way of charging it that I found out. We hook our USB port in. wait for it to prompt up. We'll go down to charge. Then we'll go ahead and turn it off, press and hold. When it's off, then the light comes on and it's charging. And the light will go out when it's fully charged. So those are two things I found out. I hope you found them helpful on the X2.